Alright guys, so now we are going to be drafting our pant trouser, right? So we are going to be working with waist 33, lap 24, knee 17, base, that's your ankle, 14, then the length 40. So usually the first thing we do is that we are going to root two lines, one vertical and one horizontal line. So we are going to mark out, I'm going to mark out my crush, which I'm going to drop with 10. Then I'm going to mark out my knee, which I'm going to drop with 21. Now I'm going to mark out my full length, which I'm going to drop with 40. Then I will add extra 2-inch allowance, which is going to be 42. I'll just repeat the same thing here on the other side. So just connect the lines. After connecting the lines, the next thing you want to do now, you are going to mark out your lap. We are working with lap 24, so I'm going to mark out 12, just right here. Now I'm going to get, if you don't have this, get this French curve ruler. That's what you are going to use. So we are going to make use of this French curve ruler just to shape our hip. This is standard male pants. With our straight ruler, we are going to complete the lines. So we are going to roll it straight down from the knee. Now the next thing we want to do now is that we are going to mark out our knee. So our knee there is 17, so we are going to mark out 6.5 for knee 17. Now we'll come down and mark our base, our ankle, which is 14, so we are going to mark 7. Now we come up with 4-inch. We are going to mark the same 7. So now we are going to make use of our French curve to connect these lines now. Alright, so the next step is that we are going to calculate our waist. The waist there is 33. You break it. You are just going to break it into 4. They add extra 1 inch. So we are going to break 33 into 4. Let's see what's going to give us. Okay, this is giving us 7.5. So we are going to add extra 1 inch, which is going to be 8.5. So we are just going to mark that out here. So now we are going to connect our crush just like that. No. Now we are going to bring here this crush part in with 1 inch, which we are going to connect with our French curve ruler. So now we have a perfect drafting for our trouser with this measurement. The next thing we are going to do now is to cut out. So now it's time for us to cut the back. So what we are going to do basically, we are just going to mark out these lines, trace these lines out again. Now we are going to add 2.5 inch to the 2.5 inch to the lap. Then from the knee, we are going to make it 2 inch. We are going to root that straight down to the end. Now you can use a free hand, or you can either use your curve ruler to connect these lines, but me, I'm using a free hand. Now you come here, you add extra 1.5 inch at the back. You mark it from this point, you measure 2.5 upwards. You mark it with your French curve ruler. You are going to connect. Then connect this line to the 2.5 inch. You measure at the lap. Like this, you are done. No more stress. You are done. You can use this formula for any size. It's going to work. Cut out. Alright, so now what we are going to do is that we are going to draft out our flap and our pockets facing. So we are going to draft our flap here. Remember, there are two fabrics, so we are just going to cut this out. So this is our flap. You are just going to gum your interface on the wrong side, so I'm just going to gum it like this. For our pocket facing, we are just going to now for the next step, you get your pocketing, fold into, iron. What you want to do now, you are going to measure 14 from the top, then 6.5 for the width. Trim this out, then you make a notch at the end just like this. Also get the your pocketing, just fold about 3 inch, iron, and you cut out. What are we going to use this for? I'm going to let you guys know. Now you get your front panel. Remember, we have the front, we have 2 pieces here, right? You are going to measure 2.5, then you are going to measure 7 for the length of your pocket. You get your interface. You are going to cut out about 1 inch. Just cut into 4. So now once you have this, take one of these, let it rest on the 7 inch and the 2.5 inch. You're going to gum, turn to the other side, take one of these, gum, trim out the excesses, measure your 7 inch and your 2.5 inch again. Launch this and you are going to notch this. So once you are done with that, you are going to separate and connect the 2 notched points. So you are just going to iron. You come to the flap, you are going to measure 6. I'm going to measure 6. So the longer the crush, the longer your crush, the more you increase your zip. Then I'll take one of these. I'm just going to gum it along. So now we're just going to trim out the excesses. So as usual, we are going to measure our 6 again. You are just going to notch about ½ inch, nothing wider than that. Then you are going to fold this first one. We are going to iron. This is where we are going to be sewing our zipper. You are going to leave this one like this. On your back panel, you are going to measure 4.5. We are just going to measure from here. We are going to measure 3. We notch. Now, so we are just going to weave. So now we are going to sew our front pocket, but for this tutorial I'm only going to be showing the sewing of one pocket. So now what we are going to do, we are going to bring this our front piece now, place it 1 inch above the pocketing, make it align with the pocketing. Then we are going to sew just at the edge of this line, about 1 centimeter away. Now you come here, you are going to notch again. So you just want to trim this pocketing a little bit. Then you open up. You open it up, then you sew down. Now you get your pocket facing. You just place it along the edge of this pocketing. Then you are just going to sew. So now once you have this, you are going to fold. You are going to measure 1 inch from this notch point. You are going to measure 1 inch. Then you can just mark your pocket like this. So you trim 1 centimeter away, turn inside out. Along this edge, you are going to sew about 1/4 inch away. Now we have something like this. So now what we are going to do, we are just going to iron. We're going to open this up, get our end gum, place it inside. Now we are going to close back, sprinkle water. What we are going to do, we are just going to stitch this part and do the same thing here. So once we are done with that, we are just going to trace back our shape and trim out. What we are going to do next now is that we are going to get our flaps. This is the part we are going to sew our zip on. This is the other part we are going to turn. So we are going to take this other part now. We are going to pipe along the curves. Now on the other part that we are going to sew the zipper, this 3-inch pocketing that we cut, we are going to place it like this. Then place this one about 1/2 inch away from the edge. Now we are going to sew about 1 centimeter away. So we are just going to trim, leaving about 1 centimeter. When we are done trimming, we are just going to turn. We are just going to turn over, then use scissors to smoothen the edges to get a very sweet curve. So now we are going to have something like this. We are just going to sprinkle water on this and iron the shape out. So now we get this part of our front panel, the part that we folded. You get your flap, you get your zipper. So once we have that aligned, we are just going to sew. Now on the other front panel, we are going to get our pipe flap and place it 1 inch below the mark point. So alright, so now what you want to do, you are going to come here and measure 1/4 inch. So you are just going to mark it. You are going to place it on this 1/4 inch that you have measured, and make sure these two places align, these two notched points align together. So you are going to place it this way, open it up and sew along this thread, this line. You are going to stop here. You leave about 1 inch. So you should be having something like this at the back, and if you turn, you should have something like this. What we are going to do is that we are going to align together. Make sure they both align, make sure the both pockets align. Now we are going to have something like this. You are going to get your chalk. You are just going to mark about 1 inch away from this point. You are going to mark 1 inch. Then you mark about 1.5 inch. Then when you get here, you curve. Open up your zipper. Now we are going to take this other part away. Close up your zipper. Now you want to make sure everything is clear. There's no. You are just going to continue. So now when you are done, you are mostly going to have something like this. So what you are going to do, you are just going to open up. You are just going to losing this thread from the back. Come back here, and you just stitch the bits. So now you are going to get your back panel. We are just going to make a dart here. We are going to measure 3 inch down, and you are going to measure 1/4 inch here. Now we are going to pipe. So we have our flap perfectly fixed. We are just going to iron. We get our back panel. Just iron along this piped area. Iron the dart. What we are going to do is we are going to attach our back panel to our front panel. Then you stop somewhere around the center. Now you form the hands. So now when you are done attaching the front panel and the back panel together, get your ironing board, press open. Once you are done press opening on both sides, mark out your waist. The waist is 33, so we are just going to mark 16.5 here. So now what we are going to do is we are going to fold into the 2 marked points should align together. So you stop, leaving about 1 inch. Alright, so now what we are going to do is that we are going to press open this part as well. So now it's time to fix our waistband. Mark about 1/2 inch here. Alright, so now what you want to do is that get your collar stay. You measure 1 3/4 for the width. Then you are going to make the length at least 6 inches longer than your waist size. What I'm going to do now is that I'm just going to gum along the fabric I want to use for my waistband. We are going to trim Once you are done trimming, you are going to fold and iron. Once you are done ironing, you are just going to trim. So now we have our waistband. Now you are going to have something like this for your waistband. We are going to pipe these edges. So now you are going to get your trouser, open up, and you are going to sew along this line. Make sure it aligns with this line. And you sew about 1 centimeter away. Don't sew directly on this collar stay. Now you are going to trim out, and you repeat the same thing here. You are going to fold. You are going to fold like this. You sew along with a straight line. Trim out. Then you turn over. Now we are just going to repeat the same thing here. So now once you are done turning over on both sides, you are going to get your elastic. You place it along this pocket line. So you are going to open up, fold this one down like this. You are ready to see. Now what next you want to do is that you are going to locate this second pocket line. Take this same elastic and place it there. You are going to stretch it to how you want it to be. If you want it to be tight or if you want it to be loose. So once you have gotten that, trim off. Now you come here, align it. So now once you have achieved this, next thing is that we are going to lock our waistband. Tuck this in, you can see. Tuck it in, then you turn over. Now you sew just along this line. Place this inside, cover it. So now we are going to close up the trouser. Remember our base is 14, so I'm going to measure 7 now. Now what we are going to do is you are going to align this part together, open up, then you are going to connect this thread to this other thread. Alright, so now we have something like this. You open up. See. So after having this, the next thing you want to do is you want to turn over. So it's time for us to properly iron. Now once we are done ironing, we'll measure the length of our trouser. Now you want to make sure it's aligning. I'll just mark. So you're just going to fold. Make sure they are both equal, they are both the same. So now we have our perfect pant trouser. You can see the elastic at the back. Now, see the pocket, it's a seamless pocket. It's a seamless pocket. So this is the shirt we got from our kaftan tutorial. I'm just going to try it out. Let's see how this one is going to look like. So this is the shirt and the trouser from our kaftan tutorial.